Today's topic is how to become a great leader. More importantly, how to become a servant leader. So let's just get into that now, and we'll go through about 13 specific points about what it means to be a servant leader. So firstly, let's just understand what we mean. When we say servant leader, we don't mean you are to become a servant, nor do we mean just that you're a leader. Servant leadership is a particular style of leadership. It's a leadership style that will allow you to be able to grow your team faster than you can ever imagine. And this is important because if we're just managers or just leaders, then are we doing enough? Are we empowering our teams, and are we creating an environment where our teams can really flourish and our employees, etc., can do the very, very best job? So just hanging on that thought, let's dive in. So number one, a servant leader, whether that's a team leader, whether you're a CEO or a founder, or maybe you're in charge of a functional department within your organization, the most important thing a servant leader does is he or she shows up and is trustworthy. What do we mean by that? We mean that when you show up, even when you're tired, you show up with high energy, and through what we will talk about shortly, you continue and always build trust with the people around you, and that they trust you, that you can lead them. The best way to do this is to make sure that the people in your team always know what you're doing, you're transparent, and you always define what value means for yourself and for your team. Number two, a servant leader always listens and leaves their own agenda at home. What do we mean by that is you are really curious, really interested to listen to your team or your people, and you don't bring your own agenda to the conversation. We'll unpack that a little bit more later on, but the main thing is that you're always listening, always curious about what people have to say, and that you move to number three. And number three is you coach your team to help them solve their own problems. So by not bringing your own agenda, this opens up for you to coach and to train your staff to be able to self-solve. What do we mean by self-solve? We mean the moment somebody in your team says to you, I can't do something, or they're having a challenge with a particular problem, coach them through it. Ask them open questions like, how would you normally solve this problem? Or why could you not look at it a different way? So, these are all different ways that you can achieve a coaching mindset with your team, and a great way you can help your team solve problems. So, number four is always about thinking about your team and your people first. And what do we mean by that? So when we talk, when we have that in our mind, when we have the mind that the team is first or the people are first, then we're always going to put them first. Again, you won't put your own agenda forward, but you will always consider what's the most important thing for your team and make that the most important thing more than anything else. Number five, diversity. You value as a servant leader, you value diversity, and that's not only diversity in your team, but also diversity in the skill sets that your team bring. And more importantly, you really understand and really know that the power of what you're trying to do is in the power of your team and in power of the diversity. If we're all the same, firstly it would be boring, and we wouldn't have different skill sets and talents that we could bring to a team. So this is really something to be valued. Number six, a servant leader encourages. So what we mean by that is that when you see things going well, when you see your team doing the right things, or if you see your team needing a little bit of a push, a little bit of encouragement, you could say something like, "That is great, I really appreciate what you did there," or "You guys have done a fantastic job." The most important thing when you provide encouragement is to be authentic and say it when you feel it inside you. Don't just say it because you want to say it. Say it because you really feel your team's been doing well, and this will be a great tool to help your team move forward and continue to deliver well and continue to be healthy. Number 7, a servant leader helps to create leaders within their own team and their own people. And so it's not only about you being curious and interested to constantly develop your leadership skills, but you're also interested in giving your team and your people the space to lead, the space to think outside the box, and the space to, learn from you to become a better leader. So that's a really, really important one. It's not only about you, again, it's about how you can lead your team into becoming better leaders. Number 8, a servant leader knows that the team always knows how to improve themselves. So what I mean by that is that, and this is a really interesting fact which I think you'll find interesting to try out yourself, and that is that everyone in your team has a part of the puzzle of how to make your team, your business, your organization the best place that it can be. They have all the secrets in their mind and heart on how to improve your organization. And the best way to do this is to, on a regular basis, I recommend every week or every 2 weeks, have your team come together and ask them 3 questions. Number 1, ask them what went well this week or this last 2 weeks. Number 2, ask them what didn't go so well. And number 3, create an action list by asking them how they could improve what didn't go so well. So again, you're coaching and challenging your team to come up with the answers of how to do a better job. But most importantly, as I said at the beginning, they have all of the answers inside them. And I think you'll be very surprised if you go through this process that you will find that you'll actually be able to grow your team more by what they know than what you could ever know yourself. Number 9, consider external factors. So people are not robots. There are external factors. Their work-life balance, personal issues, other emotional concerns should be of interest to you. You should be interested and be aware, listening, and being observant as that happens. And see where you can help people to find the time and space to be able to deal with those things. If you ignore them, it only impacts the health of your team and your people. So it's really important that you take that forward and you consider a way to manage that. That could be achieved through a one-on-one discussion with the person, and thinking down in terms of what would be the best thing for them, not necessarily what you're trying to achieve. Make sure your people stay healthy. Number 10 is focus everyone on the outcomes and the deliverables of your project. What we mean by that is we're not at work, just to sort of, only have fun. We're at work to have fun, but ultimately we're there to have a good time, but we're ultimately interested in getting work done. And so focus the team on the outcomes. Focus the team on what they're trying to achieve and the deliverables that they're trying to do. Because when a team kind of focuses in a similar direction, then you get collaboration, you get camaraderie, and even if you may take your team through a storming phase where they're busy learning from each other and getting to know each other, they will still ultimately reach a point where they're all heading in the same direction. And that's really, really important. And bring them back to the outcomes. If they go, off-piste, bring them back to the outcomes, bring them back to the deliverables that they're meant to deliver. This is a great way to keep your team agile, to keep your team lean and focused on the right things. Number 11, let your team commit to the work that they're going to do. What we mean by that is, we don't want you as a servant leader to be a manager, a micromanager, or a project manager indeed. We want you to empower your team to come up with the right estimates and the right commitment, because of one simple reason. If your team commits, then they commit. And if they learn lessons along the way and things don't quite complete, then they have only themselves to look at and then only themselves to improve. And that is the best way to continuously improve your team. Trust that they will start somewhere, might not get it right the first time, but they will look at a way to continuously improve. Number 12, cultivate a culture of honor. What do we mean by that? We mean that your team is there to, respect each other, respect you, respect the process that you're taking the team through, whatever process that might be. And we'll talk a little bit more about that on another topic. But a process might be when you want somebody to update their estimates, or you want somebody to give you an update, or you want somebody to raise an issue to you only when there's a major problem and not every time something goes wrong. So these could all be processes, or these could all be approaches that you use with your team. You may want them to meet daily. You may want to, do that review at the end, or you may want to show your customer exactly how things have developed. Whatever the case may be, you should honor both the process and the people and the culture that you're trying to create in your business, in your teams, and in your new startup. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that topic. It's all about being a fantastic and great servant leader. Again, this is all about being a great leader and a servant, in the sense that if, for example, your team member needed some help with you to finish their work, you would do whatever it would take to help them finish that. Even if that meant, clearing their diary for them, clearing your diary to help them get over the line. And that's what we mean by both being a leader and a servant, is that you're able to both lead and you're able to switch and serve your team and serve your business. And so that's all for today. That's all about being a servant leader. Again, I'm Torben Anderson. I'm the founder of Rewired, and you've been listening to Rewired for Success today. As a final request, if you enjoyed today's topic, if you could go over to your favorite podcast website and application and simply hit subscribe. This is a weekly cast, and I'd love to hear your reviews, both on the podcast, and I'll leave a few links when this gets published, both to join the Facebook group and any other channels that work for you. So thanks again for joining, thanks for your time, and really do appreciate that, and have a fantastic week. Cheers.